Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Anwar Academy. This is me, Anwar Hussain. I hope you all are keeping well. I am also well by the grace of Almighty. After a long break, I am again in front of you with a different topic, and today's topic is poem. In this video, I will talk about a poem which is taken from class 8, and the name of the poem is I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. The poem is also known as Daffodils. This poem is composed by William Wordsworth. William Wordsworth is known as a poet of nature. He was born in England in 1770. He is a poet of romantic period. In this poem, I will talk about the paraphrase of this poem, and I will try to give you a short description uh, about the whole poem, though uh, the poem consists of 24 lines and the poem is divided into 4 stanzas and each stanza consists of 6 lines. Dear learners, so no more now, let's begin our today's lesson, and the topic of our today's lesson is I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, composed by William Wordsworth. At the very beginning, I would like to read out the poem and then I will try to give uh, a description in detail. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. In the very first line, here I is the poet himself or the speaker of the poem. Once upon a time was wandering or roaming about lonely or without a definite purpose, like a cloud. And the cloud was also floating over vales and hills. At that time, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils here, I, the speaker, suddenly while roaming about here and there without any definite purpose, he saw a number of daffodil flowers. The poet saw a numerous daffodils, and the color of those daffodils were golden. The daffodils were of golden color. They looked very, very beautiful, and they were beside a lake and under some trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. And the it seemed to the poet that the daffodil flowers were dancing in the breeze, making sounds like the sounds made by the wings of the flying birds. The daffodils were making sounds. The poet thought the daffodils were making sounds, creating sounds uh, like the sounds which were usually made by the sounds of wings of the flying birds. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they traced a never-ending line along the margin of bay. And the daffodils. In these lines, the poet compared the daffodil flowers with the stars at night, stars in the sky at night. The daffodil flowers were so lovely, so bright, so beautiful that the poet compared those daffodils with the stars, and because stars sometimes shine in the sky at night, similarly the brightness or the beauty of the daffodil flowers were shining all around the poet. That is why the poet here has compared the daffodil flowers with those of the stars in the sky. They traced a never-ending line. The poet Wherever the poet looked, wherever the poet looks, he sees the presence of daffodil flowers all around him. He can see the presence of flowers, a presence of daffodils here and there all around him, and it seems to the poet that they are never ending, they are spreading all around. There is a bay, and the daffodils were all around the bay. At that time, 10,000 saw I at a glance, touching their heads in sprightly dance. In this situation, the poet, here we find the influence of nature on human mind. Whenever the poet saw a huge number of daffodils while roaming aimlessly, uh, aimlessly, he saw a huge number of daffodils, though it is not impossible to count them. The poet, out of emotion, said that uh, he saw 10,000 daffodils at a glance. This is an hyperbole. Dear learners, you know that hyperbole is an exaggeration of something or uh, some event that is not really true. Or so 10,000 daffodils at a glance, this is an example of hyperbole. It is not possible for a man to count 10,000 daffodils at a glance, and the poet thought that the daffodil flowers were like a group of dancers, um, uh, and they were dancing in the breeze with joy, mirth, and pleasure. The daffodil flowers were in happy mood. They were compared with a group of dancers, so they were dancing in the breeze with a happy, joyous, and mirthful mood. The poet thought after watching this beautiful sight of the daffodils. In the fourth stanza, we see that the waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in a in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what well the show to me had brought. In the third stanza, the poet is saying that the waves beside them, uh, as the daffodils were spreading beside the lake, the waves of the lake seemed to the poet to be dancing, but outdid the sparkling waves in glee. Uh, the waves of water look very shining, look very bright, they look beautiful, but the poet thought the beauty or the brightness or brightness of the waves of the lake or the brightness of the daffodils were more than the beauty or the brightness of the waves. And seeing this beautiful sight of nature, the poet could not but, the poet uh, was bound to express his inner emotion, and he uh, said that a poet could not but be gay. A poet like Wordsworth could not but be happy by watching this beautiful sight of the daffodils, and he at that time joined with the joyous mood of the daffodils, and he felt joy in his mind. And I gazed and gazed, but little thought, and the poet became surprised, and as a result, he gazed and gazed at those daffodils, and he did not think at all what well the show to me had brought. The beautiful sight of the daffodils brought a solace, a comfort, a joy in the minds of the poets who was in agony, who was in a pensive mood, who was full of troubles, sadness, etc. Here, for here, this beautiful sight has brought some solace to the mind of the poet who is in a pensive mood, who is in trouble. That is, a beautiful sight of nature can remove the sufferings, remove the pain, remove the troubles from the human mind. Now I am going to talk about the last stanza of this poem. And in the last stanza, the poet has said, "For oft when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood." Here, in these two lines, the poet is saying that when he is in a vacant or in a pensive mood, that is when his mind is sad, he is out of mood, he is in agony, he is in pain, the beautiful sight of those daffodils, the happiness of those daffodils reflects in his heart, and he becomes happy with those joyous daffodils, joyous flowers. When this beautiful sight of the daffodils flashes in the poet's heart or poet's inner eye, the poet gets some solace. That happy sight gives some solace, gives some comfort in the heart of the poet. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. And um, through the last two lines, the poet has told that when his heart fills with joy uh, with the daffodils, and the poet at that time cannot but join with the joyous daffodils. That is, the poet becomes happy again, though in spite of his sorrow, sufferings, pain in his heart in the present time. Dear learners, I have tried to give a short description of the famous poem I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, composed by William Wordsworth. This is a very wonderful poem. Uh, in this poem, the poet has used several figures of speech such as simile, personification, hyperbole in order to make a good connection between the reader and the text. Dear learners, I think you have enjoyed this description of the poem. Now, I am going to give a summary of this poem. The summary of the poem is that a beautiful sight of nature can bring happiness in human mind, because a beautiful sight of nature is a source of joy. A man may become sad or may be in trouble or anxieties, but a happy sight of nature can bring some solace in his mind whenever he is in a pensive or sad mood. Wordsworth in this poem has tried to show that man should go into the lap of nature, because nature has a healing power. It can heal the troublesome human mind. It has that capacity. So all should go into nature, um, because nature is a great healer. Nature has a great power to soothe the troublesome human minds. Dear learners, thank you very much for staying with me till the end of the video. I hope you have enjoyed the video. If you enjoy this video, please share it to your near and dear ones so that they can also have some idea about the poem. No more now. I'll be back with another new interesting video. Till then, keep watching on our academy and keep learning. Thank you. Thank you. call.